like I say, I don't do this. This is not what I do. So.
It's silly, it's absolutely.
Okay, Carl, thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously being an Anstey local, we're here at St Mary's Church, the perfect backdrop to what I can only imagine is going to be an amazing interview.
I mean, I'm just thrilled, Glenn, honestly, I really am. And I moved into Anstey about 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. I always knew it very, very well. My parents had friends here and I always loved the village, but it's great to be here and even more exciting to be in this church.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lovely location. I've been here many times, you know, in my youth. I grew up in Anstey, so. But yeah, when I found out that you're from Leicestershire, it took me by surprise because obviously nothing happens in Leicestershire prior to the football win and all that sort of thing that put us on the map. Nothing happens in Leicestershire.
Yeah.
So to find out that someone from one of my favourite films actually lives around the corner from me was, baffling to me. So I couldn't, miss this opportunity to sit down and have a chat with you about it.
Well,
so,
I'm extremely grateful to be here, and like you say, Leicester doesn't get the kudos that it should do.
It doesn't.
And yet we've had great people here, haven't we? We've had the writer Joe Orton.
Yeah.
The Attenboroughs were here
Of
for
course.
quite some time, and thanks to Lord Richard Attenborough, we've got the synonymous theatres and things that he's patronised. And but yeah, I mean, I feel very fortunate that when I was sort of growing up, it's all out there for you in many ways, and I found those outlets, I found those places where I could tap into my sort of skill set and passions, and dance was one of the ones that not everybody realises was very strong here.
Right, okay.
So we have the Janet Dupont School. I don't know whether that's still going, but that was somewhere where I had a little foray into, and I started playing drums for them.
Oh, wow.
And then also I moved into the Leicestershire County School of Dance, which absolutely fantastic sort of heritage there, that they have these esteemed teachers trained at the Royal Ballet and Ballet Rambert, and for me it just was the perfect place to train.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And cultivate your sort of skills, and develop.
Oh, definitely, yeah. You say you played drums at some point?
Yeah. Well, that was the main driving thing initially, was that I love rhythm, and I was brought up with all that kind of stuff, through the British scene and the American scene, and I was just very forward thinking, I mean, even right from such a young age, I was listening to Miles Davis and all these, seminal musicians, and I think it was the fact my parents had the Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, all those kind of greats there. But then I learned a lot from my eldest brother, and then I found my own things as well. But yeah, I just started playing drums from the age of 11.
Wow.
And that was just in Loughborough, when they had a really good music centre there before that's all changed now. But fantastic again, the pop rock drummer I had teaching me was involved in so many great projects and bands himself. And then I went on to a jazz guy, so I had the best of everything.
Oh, amazing.
But alongside that, the dance was very, very important to me. I think because I'm very physical and I've always loved sport. So the dancing was very much part and parcel because of people like Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and all those great people. And then Michael Jackson exploded on the scene, and of course he was a big influence. And you were learning all these different styles, seeing these styles as he got that talent, but he also got with the right teachers, didn't he, that showed him the street styles.
That's it.
And so I used to hit the clubs in Leicester, a lot of the black nightclubs I used to go because that music really appealed to me, the soul, the funk, the reggae, etc. And I started going in and doing various things, and as I say, the best thing for me was getting to the Leicestershire County School, because unusual for a guy, but I was doing classical and contemporary ballet. Okay. Which, is the most physical thing I've ever done.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Incredible, really. So that's that is the basis and the core of all dancing, really. If you do that, you've got the strength, you've got the line then to, you know, pull off all these lovely movements and routines.
Yeah, oh, amazing. So yeah, tell us a bit about your background in dance then. Like, what did you do sort of around that era?
Well, I mean, I was with a friend, and we sort of were so interested in so many different things. I mean, Bruce Lee was another one we were crazy about. But I think because of our love for bands like Earth, Wind and Fire and Kool and the Gang, and the really sort of soulful, diverse bands, really, because Earth, Wind and Fire were R&B as well and blended so many different genres. But I think because of all those things, you know, it was natural for us to move as well and dance. So you would see the pop promos and things, and then we said, look, let's just go and try this out. So we started off at a little school where we went to in Quorn. They had ballet lessons, and there was just, I think, the 2 or 3 of us doing it. And then we expanded more. We did karate for a while as well, but then we went into other schools in Leicester. And as I say, I think what was a turning point for me was when I started playing drums for Janet Dupont. They put on these pantomimes at Loughborough Town Hall, and to be honest with you, they were so professional. They were so meticulously well crafted and precise, because she was so professional, the founder. And they sort of saw me doing some dancing one time and said, you know, you should do more of this. And so I thought, oh wow, that's great. And I started off with them doing sort of tap and modern, jazz modern. And it was fortunate that I was there one time when this guy, he was in because his sister's trained there. And he just said, Carl, you know, you should come to where I go. It's run by the council. And they do, you know, ballet, and we put on these great productions and things. So I took his advice and absolutely loved it, you know. And the guy was so welcoming, a guy called Peter Kyle, who trained with the Ballet Rambert and New Zealand Ballet. And we were doing all these great techniques, like the American techniques, like Martha Graham, you know, and this kind of stuff, and Twyla Tharp. And I then found out about this other teacher that did classical ballet. And I was one of the very few guys doing it, you know, so it was unique in that sense. But I found that my passion and my interest just got deeper and deeper. And you know, when you start achieving more as well, and it's that collective again, as we've said, where, you know, you're with great people who have that same commitment as you. And then when you start doing productions at, you know, what was the former Haymarket at that time, and the Phoenix before it converted and relocated with the digital cinema, we used to put on quite a few performances there. And absolutely loved it, you know. And then we had the founder of Ballet Rambert, Dame Ninette de Valois. She came to see us perform at the Haymarket. But we were doing these festivals which were so unique, and they were the first festivals of youth dance in the UK. And the first one happened to be in Leicester, and we were all around the De Montfort campus. And what was lovely about that, and I think, you know, we should try and bring these things back, is where you go and you watch a film, or you do class with certain people, or you learn from different teachers, you know, whether they, you know, they want to teach you mime, or if it's contemporary or whatever it might be. But you're refining all the time, but you're just exploring other avenues, which I really, really loved, you know. And so that then really developed me. I did the second one, which was in Solihull in Birmingham, and then a lot of my friends were going off and auditioning to do it full time in London. And I had a word with my teacher, and I said, look, I'm not perhaps going to go into classical and contemporary, but I want to go into modern, you know, into jazz, more commercial. So he said, well, look, I can't advise you so much on that, but just go for it, because, you know, I mean, I can't, but I don't know whether I could believe him, but he said he couldn't, you know, stretch beyond his knees at one time before he started. But no, his advice was very, very good. And I went and auditioned in London, and then that set me on course then for a career.
Amazing. That sounds great. It always happens in London, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It's the bigger smoke, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a lot more option, and you're thrown against even more talent, from all over the country. So, whereas you may have been someone who, stood out for being in a small collective, let's say, you were suddenly thrust in, to an arena where there was guys that may have trained right from a very young age or went through all the medal system, and those kind of things. But it didn't matter, because I think ultimately it's all about your own personality, your own style, and what you can express.
Yeah, doing something new is always good, isn't it?
Absolutely. Teachers were very, very good at Lane Theatre Arts, where I trained.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Okay, so obviously we sat beside the Batman cowl and the other props here. Shall we segue onto that and talk a little bit about how you got scouted for Batman?
Yeah. Well, that was a surreal moment in my life where I didn't quite grasp the total kind of description, in a sense, background from my agent. But my agent, you can have a number of agents when you're a dancer, and this particular one, probably the earliest founding agent in London, called Dancers, and they told me the brief about Michael Keaton being cast as Batman, and that they needed someone more sort of physical and athletic to bring in that kind of finesse to the role. But I hadn't quite grasped it, sometimes I was a bit like that, But anyway, I went along and I met the first assistant director, a guy called Derek Cracknell, lovely guy. And he was telling me, and then it was a case of, this was at Pinewood, this was a case then of waiting and seeing for being recalled for something later. And I never heard anything for a little while, but on one evening I was sharing digs with a lot of other students, dance students, and they said, look, Carl, we need you to come in immediately, try on the suit, and take it from there. So I did no more than jump on the tube. I was there in a flash.
I bet.
And fantastic. I met the wardrobe team, all lovely people, and they were keen, to get me suited up. And I think the best thing for me was that because I'd trained a lot and I was a fitness junkie, really, the suit just fit me like a glove. And I mean, they're all based on Keaton's, size and dimensions and everything, but it's always better if you've got the frame anyway, because you make the suit look better. You don't make it look sloppy or anything like that. So I always was an exponent of holding yourself well, and just projecting that kind of, presence, just from how you put a costume on. And this was the ultimate costume for me, because, it's a childhood dream, isn't it, to put a Batman costume on. So I did that, and then they put the cowl on, and they were commenting how well, having a good strong chin, that really fit also like a glove. And then the funny thing was, what can I do in this sort of crowded wardrobe department? But they said, right, just go in the corridors and have a practice.
Right.
So that was, again, play acting as a child. So having the cape and everything, and I could get all dramatic and athletic and run up and down. And the costume, there's been a lot of talk about it being so restrictive and cumbersome and heavy, which it was if you did break it all down. But for someone like myself, who has been in and out of costumes, I've been in a lot of period costume, all kinds of things, and the whole idea is, they don't want to strangle you, but at the same token, it needs to look as though it fits like a glove, and that it looks so sort of glamorous, if that's the case, So I just took it as being standard, really, fair, that all right, it's a bit stiff, but I'm supple, and I would always do my mobility exercises before and all these kind of things. So, yeah, it didn't bother me that it was the way it was. You know?
No, it's a long way from the Adam West costume, isn't it?
Definitely, yes.
Bit of a, was it spandex or something?
Yes, that's right. Yes, yes. The briefs over the tights, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But it was a magnificent costume to put on. You can imagine, you know, and the fact that the cape had the rods in as well at times. And then there were adaptations that we could use. We could use handles as well that were fixed inside
to get that flow.
Yeah, because it's very hard if you're just using your hands. If you're making that lovely sort of wing, you know, shape. So that was a great thing to do there. But I think again, because you're using your arms a lot in ballet, and just I was anyway in you know, all the circuit training, all the classes I used to do. So I had that kind of way of moving anyway. But it felt like if I fell off a building, I'd just sort of bounce or whatever, you know. I was perfectly safe. So it was, I just didn't want to get out of it, really.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So you basically created something new, because obviously going back to the Adam West thing, that was completely different to sort of the Michael Keaton Batman. So was it you that sort of crafted the way that Batman moved?
It was really, it was. I mean, I know I had Todd as a movement consultant, but a lot of it is, you know, in essence, it's second nature, you know, really. And you know, as I say, if you've done a lot of ballet class, you've done a lot of classes, you know about coordination, you know about how you move your limbs. And, you know, again, I was someone who always studied and watched others, you know, the greats doing things. So really, I think it was kind of intuitive, really. A lot of it with me was that, you know, you're so schooled, you're so disciplined in how you are. And even in running, I mean, I used to get hired, believe it or not, for the fact of how well I could run and things, you know, for links and different things for television. But I think it's true to say that I did develop that whole movement language, which has never really been done since. You know, I mean, we look at the different iterations, but, you know, the difference is, as I proved, was that you can have a martial arts double, you can have a stunt double. I mean, I was doing stunt work anyway, really, with some of the scenes I was doing, but, you know, other people can't, and maybe I couldn't do what they did, although I'd like to have had a shot at it, because I was that kind of person. If they'd have said to me, Carl, we want you to do this, I would have done it, you know. But I think I proved that they couldn't move the way I could move, and so that was very indicative of what I brought to the role, was that fluidity, that finesse, you know, and being a perfectionist as well. You know, I was one of those, even like jumping in the Batmobile. The whole idea is to make it look effortless. You know, that Batman just jumps in with Vicky Vale, no dramas, you know, he's in there like a flash. But the reality is that takes a lot of perfecting, because, you know, it's very, very easy to snag the cape or just judder or you know, not get your timing right. And also it's a very tight cockpit. You know, so again, my drumming, if you like, knowing how to isolate my limbs, you know, I knew that if I, you know, got the cape away with that hand and made sure I pointed the feet and used the momentum, all these different things came into play, that I could make it just so fluid and smooth.
You wouldn't have that problem these days, would you? It'll be CGI.
That's right. That's the difference now, isn't it? Yeah. But these are things, and again, you know, looking at my heroes like Bruce Lee, you know, just how perfectionate, and I mean, he's another level, obviously. But just, you know, I used to have books of his and various martial arts things myself, because I used to use some of the exercises and different things in there as well. They all sort of cross over, don't they? They all mesh together, these kind of disciplines and things, you know.
Absolutely,
about the, you know, when I did karate, we used to try doing the press-ups on the backs of the hands, or I didn't get to the level of one finger or whatever, but that was something else. But yeah, just I I feel very proud that I was able to develop that.
Yeah.
That movement language.
I bet, because obviously that inspired what came next as well, with, you know, all the sequels that they did. If it wasn't for you, I feel, then, you know, they would have had to start from scratch almost, because that Batman sort of defined superhero films in general. I feel that was the start of the dark superhero era that we're still in today. But yeah, I think that should be very proud.
I mean, you know, it's wonderful to know that you have inspired, and I know Michael Keaton has really been banging the drum in a lovely way about that, you know, to say how I was able to create that for on the silver screens for you know, decades to come, whatever, you know, that and I'm sure, you know, the likes of Christian Bale would have seen it, you know, because it was there, wasn't it? And you might not you know, say an awful lot at the time, but you can take it in subliminally, can't you? And sort of be influenced, as we all are with different things. But you know, I was such a perfectionist in that way of getting it so right, and just to make it look as though the suit was never cumbersome. That was always my, you know, my philosophy and motive, you know, to say, look, you know, it can't look awkward, you know, because Batman's not like that, you know. He's got this suit on, whilst he's not the superhero like the superpowers, but having that suit and with the flying and anything like that, it should just look wow, you know, shouldn't it, really?
Definitely.
So that was great to be able to have those opportunities with various scenes, you know, which was great.
Yeah, so I bet you got to work with, obviously, the likes of Michael Keaton, obviously. Did you work closely with Jack Nicholson or any of the other cast?
Yeah. I mean, I worked closely with all of them. You know, I mean, Kim, I was with her in the Batmobile, in the Batcave, you know, when the Batmobile arrives, and that was a sequence again, you know, getting out of the Batmobile, moving all the way through the Batcave. But with Jack, I was with him in the bell tower because I was stalking him, and you're around them an awful lot because it was very respectful, but it was more casual in the sense that you were taking meal breaks, you'd be around each other having a coffee or a tea or whatever, and then there was times when I went to one or two parties or gatherings with them, and we were all so friendly and supportive of one another, and so you weren't someone who just came on and you were whisked away, you know, and you couldn't have that.
No.
Because the whole idea is you are meant to collaborate and sort of know what each other's doing, and if you are doing a scene together, then it's even better, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
But they were all so fantastic. They really were so easygoing and you know, a joy in many ways to be around, you know. So and the buzz as well, I wasn't so familiar with, because I think at that time with Michael's work, Beetlejuice and Pee-wee, yes, but Kim I knew quite a bit more, and Jack, of course, you know, was always a family favourite with what he'd been doing. And you know, I've said to other people that, you know, when you're working with the best, it just inspires you and raises your game more, doesn't it? You know, you know, and it's trying not to be daunted by that, because I know perhaps Michael may have been daunted working with Jack, you know, but it's being able to balance it, you know, so that they will help you and they will inspire you, and then you just believe in yourself, don't you?
Absolutely,
ultimately, what you can do. And then Tim as well was another great one for giving me that, you know, even more confidence, you know, and because he was just so easygoing, and just his mind was amazing to sort of see how he worked, and he'd got everything covered. Yeah. Total genius, kind of.
Yeah, really is.
Really is.
Incredible films that he's made.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about Tim Burton, what it was like working with him, but it's nice to hear that he's so relaxed and easygoing. Yeah. And he's, you know, got it covered. That's,
he has, and no edge or anything like that with him. He's just, you know, an absolute pleasure. And you know, he carried that right the way through, even to when the film was wrapped, and personally thanked me, which again, it goes a long way, because sometimes on projects, you know, it can all be done, and then thank you very much, and it's over kind of thing. But the fact when people make a sort of a beeline to come and see you and thank you and speak very highly of you, it's treasured, isn't it, really? Treasured, priceless memories in that way.
Yeah,
you know,
brilliant.
so but the whole team there was, and I'd worked at Pinewood several times before, but not on such a bigger film, but just the prestige of Pinewood, and knowing that Bond and it's a spiritual home of Star Wars and Superman and different things. So just incredible.
Amazing. So what are your favourite scenes that you've worked on in Batman?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's like when you ask a musician, you know, what's your favourite? You know, I mean, I love it all. It's they all have different meanings, I think, really. I think out of bravery, certainly the Axis Chemical rooftop was. I mean, I was pointing that out where we saw each other at the Hemel Hempstead convention, and I was saying, look, you know how high this roof is, this ceiling is here. You know, that's how high it was when I was running across Axis Chemical. And the fact that there was no safety measures, and also it was wet, windy, and had cables everywhere. So I think out of bravery, that one certainly. But I love them all in different ways. You know, I love the initial landing shot. You know, because that, just to keep that lovely core line, you know, coming down, and then making it very fluid and soft through the knees with the landing, and then the next part taking off. So they all mean so much to me, like the jumping into the Batmobile, a lot of the work throughout the bell tower, you know, coming through the Batwing crash and pushing the cathedral doors, but coming out the trapdoor and working all the way through there, and also getting an opportunity to help the goons do mime. You know, so these were other things not everybody realises, but you know, they look at you and they say, well, look, you're a trained dancer, you'll know all this. We need to make sure that the guys know what they're doing. So Carl, will you take them off? And I said, of course, you know, I'll take them off. So, you know, there we go, and we had great fun, you know, because those guys were brilliant, those actors. So anything that allowed me to, you know, tap into my creativity was really well welcomed, you know, and so I'm proud of everything really in that sense. I think what I really loved as well was having the opportunity to work with all these great photographers. And you know, because that's a big passion of mine as well, is actually taking photographs, but also witnessing a lot of photography, and I have done over the years all manner of great photographers. But when the press department said, look, we want you to do that, I was like, wow, that's just fantastic. So
that's amazing.
I worked with I think it was 4 in the total. Herb Ritz was just incredible opportunities. I'd been to his exhibition prior to getting the job actually, and he was again another wonderful person to work with, so easygoing. And you know, again, it just raises your game, because I was able then to demonstrate some unique poses, which have then kind of been immortalised really with the industry, the cosplayers and various things. So that makes you very proud that you've got something that's very tangible and just proves, look, and I've always said, look, that's how Batman should really stand, should hold himself, you know what I mean?
Own that room.
Own that room, absolutely. And so I did those ones in the studio, and then there was times where I went out on set, on location, you know, with the cathedral, and that was amazing, really good.
So obviously we saw Michael Keaton come back and reprise his role as Batman recently. If Tim Burton were to call you up and say, we're making a Batman 3, are you in?
Definitely. I feel like I've been denied returns really, because he did want me for returns, and things happen, don't they? We just don't know. You know, you can never be guaranteed, even though you think you are. And I think what happened was in that time frame, things changed, and maybe politics or logistics, I don't know, but I was absolutely devastated, because I've always loved Michelle Pfeiffer as an actress, and Danny DeVito, and I knew I could have carried on,
of course,
from where I left off, because at that time as well I got even, it's weird to say it, but I got even fitter and stronger. In that time, you know, and you know, it just never got used in that capacity, which is a real shame. But out of the two, I would have always done 89 anyway.
Definitely.
But if there was a third, I would definitely say yes. Definitely.
Yeah, that's great. So aside from Batman, what's been the highlight of your career? Gosh,
there's been so many, really. You know, I've just loved working on so many different projects. I think one of the most fun projects was working with Dame Julie Walters on a series of commercials, and that was with a choreographer as well. And again, I think when you have that close, you know, it's kind of a closeness in a way where, you know, you're having a bit of social time with them as well.
Yeah.
And they are very welcoming. And then I actually met her not so long after we finished filming, but I've enjoyed everything, you know. I can't really sort of home in on one thing. I mean, I've loved working at the Palladium.
Yeah.
I've loved working on other films where I've done period dances and commercials.
Yeah.
Working with a Gullwing 1950s Mercedes and all kinds of things. Working with a lot of pop stars, and working with the likes of Godley and Cream, you know, who were very much the founders of the pop promo, you know. They were a joy to work with. So so many different things. So it's hard to pinpoint one.
Fulfilling career.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
and I went over to Australia and worked there on doing some choreography and being in commercials and being in a band as well. So the drumming came back as well with that. And I think that's the thing with me, is I love that variety. You know, it's you know, they say about sort of accentuating the positive and or maybe focusing on one, but sometimes it's nice to have a variety.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
It all works together.
Yeah, it does indeed. I feel that, like, doing what we do, we make videos for businesses, and you know, we don't necessarily do weddings or anything like that. We don't work with private clients, but we work with sort of the corporates and the commercial side of things.
Yes.
And we don't do just one thing. We like to move around.
Yeah, you like to move around.
It's
a great thing.
I think that's
it's the way, isn't it?
It is the way.
Definitely the way.
Yeah. You don't want to feel boxed in life, do you? Really?
No, and you know, there's been others that have done that as well. You know, and it's not to say that you can't do that. I mean, there are some people who are laser focused with one discipline, and that's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
And then there are other people that have, you know, and I find that fascinating, where they've maybe learnt on one instrument, and then the teacher or the head has said, oh, we really need a bass player, you know, so they've moved from the piano to the bass and made that great transition. Yeah. So it's all good. Yeah, all it is. Positive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Are you aware of the sort of, obviously, the Leicester film community, but the wider Midlands community as well?
Not enough, no. I would like to know a lot more about that.
Yeah.
I think we've got some great talent here.
There is so much talent.
You guys included in that.
Oh, thank you. But no, I've been making films since I was like 13 years old, and that was sort of, there was nothing really around at that time to promote yourselves, or there was definitely not a community that we know of. But now it's sort of thriving. We've got the Midlands Movies who promote sort of local films, and they put on a film festival, more of an award show every year, and do reviews for local films. So it's a really thriving community, and I think, you know, Leicester and the wider Midlands region as well is really being put on the map now when it comes to filmmaking and the arts, which I think is fantastic. But,
well, if there's an opportunity to maybe screen the 89 and I could do a Q&A or something at that. I'd love to do that. I mean, my thoughts were whether the Phoenix does anything, but if there is another opportunity, because as you've alluded to, we've got the talent, things are thriving more now, and I think we should say, well, look, you know, the 89 is always going to be here to stay. It's a seminal film, isn't it? And it's going round, as you know, with the live orchestra. And why not? Because I'm finding each convention I'm doing, I'm reaching a much younger audience as well, which is fantastic. So I just want to keep promoting that whole, you know, philosophy of you know, just go for it. You know, whatever your passions are, whatever your outlet. If you're doing makeup, hair, stunts, whatever, just go for it. You know, because I know it is a different world, but it doesn't mean to say that you can't be involved in it.
No.
You know, and so if there's an opportunity, I would like to come on board with that. Yeah,
I'm sure there'll be someone that'll take that.
Yeah,
take that up for sure. So Carl, what's in store for the future? What you got coming up this year?
Well, I'm excited to say that I'm very, very busy this year. I've just completed an amazing convention over at Hopetown in Darlington, but my next one is towards the end of this month, which is Birkenhead, and it's the Pyramids Comic Con 3, and we're on for 2 days with that one towards the end of the month. But I think the best thing is if people can check in on the social media. So Ballybat 1989 is where you'll find me on Instagram and Facebook, and that was the nickname, by the way, that Jack Nicholson gave me.
Oh wow!
Ballybat, And the story is with that he went to see Phantom of the Opera with John Peters and others, and he was very impressed with the dramatic scenes and that whole thing, and he wanted that very much for that finale, you know, in the bell tower.
Yeah.
But he found out that I'd trained in ballet and these kind of things, and then when we were doing the scene together, you know, the stalking, and he just came out with that nickname, which was fantastic, which he put on my photograph. And then Michael started calling me that as well, and I think it's just the best nickname to have, you know, by someone legendary like Jack. But if people check in on the socials, I'm going to be all over the country this year, which is very exciting. I'm in Norwich, I'm all over, you know, Warsaw, I think, you name it, I'm pretty much there. And you know, if anyone is interested in me appearing at somewhere, just please do get in touch. And I'm also loving giving talks as well, you know, so I did a great talk at Moyses Hall Museum in Bury St Edmunds. That was great because they had a sci-fi exhibition on, and they had the production cow from '89, the Keaton cow, and also a bust as well there. So that couldn't be more perfect for me, you know, turning up in an actual Gothic building as well, which was superb. But and another great thing is if people could check in on my website, which is up there, which is www.ballybat1989.com. I've actually got a little store on there as well. We've got some merchandise, and I've actually just collaborated with a fantastic comic book artist in Canada, Conor McGregor. We've got one of one covers. He's hand painted them, and I've signed them along with him. But there's only those two in the world, and that's exciting. So I'm loving these collaborations, these forays into other things as well. So the conventions are great, and I'm loving the talks. And as I say, I would love to be where there's a screening of the film, and I could do a Q&A or a signing afterwards, because I did that as well at a great Arts Centre in Watchet,
Okay.
in Somerset. So I'm getting this lovely mixture of invitations and things, which is great. So
Fantastic.
we're keeping the 1989 Batman legacy going forever.
Oh,
We really are.
it should be. Carl, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
again,
thank you.
Glenn. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
It really has.
Nice
So
one.
much.